Two Geeks, Two Beers, and a Laptop. Episode 10, Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman.
Lois, you alright?
I'm fine.
Stay here, I'll be right back. I have to stop a robbery.
Hello again, and welcome to episode 10 of Two Geeks, Two Beers, and a Laptop. It's episode 10, we've made it this far,
Yes.
It's a little bit of a landmark. Just because it's episode 10, we'll get the normal spiel we do at the end, out of the way at the beginning. We have done 10 episodes now, so please do go to our website, which is twogeeks2beers.wordpress.com.
That's the one.
I should know it by now. And you can subscribe there or on iTunes, listen to all our old episodes.
Yeah.
We're also on Facebook and Twitter, both Two Geeks Cast.
Taking over the social sphere.
We are, and also we are uploading our videos to YouTube. We have a YouTube account, which you can find just by searching Two Geeks, Two Beers, and a Laptop. And we have videos there, which are basically our podcasts, but with little extra visual bonuses. Right then, so episode 10, I am going to be launching a staunch defence of the 90s series, Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman.
Doesn't need to be defended?
Well, this is the thing. I feel like this show gets a lot of flack in this day and age because it sort of did an interesting spin on the whole Superman legend, and it reinvented it for the 90s as a kind of moonlighting influenced romantic comedy. And so I feel like at the time it's a big hit. Now I think people think of it as quite cheesy, and it just kind of in this age where it's quite fashionable to have super dark superhero movies, like Man of Steel took it so seriously, it's so po-faced to the point of just being
miserable and
drudge. Lois and Clark isn't particularly fashionable, but if Smallville can basically take Superman and turn it into a teen drama, Clark's Creek, then I don't see what's wrong with reinventing it in this way.
So at this point, so this is what, mid-90s?
1993 it started.
So at this point, what was the recent sort of Superman stuff? Had there been anything for a while?
Well, we'll get on to this later.
That's what I'm intrigued about.
There was a Superman television series, or Superman-related television series, on the very previous year.
Really?
But we'll get on to that later. Because I think the reason I loved Lois and Clark as a kid was because all of that sort of, it's a romantic comedy, it's a new twist on Superman, all that kind of passed me by. And I just thought it was a bloody good Superman TV show. I think possibly because it wasn't called Lois and Clark in the UK. It was just called The New Adventures of Superman.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I didn't even think of it as like, they're putting the romance to the fore and all the stuff that people seem to hate about it now. It didn't really occur to me.
It didn't feel too soppy to me.
And it didn't feel...
Because, Clark Kent always loves Lois Lane.
Exactly.
So it's not like a weird thing to have added to it.
The whole thing with the show was that their relationship was just as important as, say, Superman saving the day. But I don't see that that's a problem. It worked for me as a kid. It premiered on BBC One in the UK, 8th of January 1994. So not long after it started in the US. And that was when I first watched it, I remember. Because, prime time... BBC One on a Saturday night, a US show, would never happen. But it was brilliant. It was perfect Saturday night entertainment. And then also, this is listed on Wikipedia, it also aired at 8:30am before Live and Kicking at 9:15am, which I also remember had repeats before Live and Kicking. And I'll be honest, I wasn't normally up at 8:30am, even as a kid, but I would get down for about 9ish, and I have fond memories of catching the end of Superman just in time for Live and Kicking to start. It was brilliant.
Wasn't it also on at in the midweek at 6 o'clock in the evening?
Possibly, they might have repeated it.
I seem to remember watching it then.
But as I say, for me as a kid, it was just a brilliant Superman TV show, and it kind of had the fun and the escapism, and maybe it was a bit tongue-in-cheek, but that's fine. It was funny, and
much more fun to watch than
Man of Steel, or even I think it's underrated, but even Superman Returns is quite dour. So I loved it, and it has a great theme tune as well, which it's only the second best Superman theme tune after John Williams' Superman score, but it's still brilliant, I think. So let's have a little blast of the Lois and Clark thing.
make them like that anymore, do they?
Long bath in nostalgia juice.
The weird thing is with that, I probably haven't seen or heard that for about 10, maybe even 20 years, and I know that off by heart.
Transports you back immediately.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, as I say, it started in 1993, and it was quite groundbreaking at the time because in 1986, which was sort of 7 years prior, there'd been a comic book mini-series called, ironically, Man of Steel, which kind of rebooted Superman's origins and the whole mythology, so it made Clark more capable and less of a sort of bumbling nerd.
Yeah.
Lex Luthor, who was previously a mad scientist, it made him into a kind of evil corporate tycoon. So this was the first time they'd adapted Superman since all those changes had been made.
Okay.
So, yeah, so it was really kind of the first of its kind in many ways. And just as the TV show reflected the comics, also at its height, the show had a big influence on the comics.
Oh.
So, for example, there's an episode of Lois and Clark where they get married in 1996, and then the comics they sort of went, yeah, we're marrying Lois and Clark, and they're like, what? Yeah, gonna get married Lois and Clark on the show. And
No.
So they literally had to fast track a storyline in the comics. So the comics were then playing catch up with the TV show.
But they're just totally separate things.
Well, yeah, but they obviously thought, quite rightly, in the end, that if they did a tie-in comic book episode where they got married, they would get a big sales bump because it was the biggest show on TV, and they were right, and they did get a huge sales bump. So one of the reasons I think this show is so brilliant and worthy of defending is because it just nails the casting.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, it's Dean Cain.
It's great.
He is great.
Yeah.
He is great. Underrated again.
Yeah.
But he was actually, going back to what we were saying before, it was actually the second choice.
Who's
to play? It was actually Jai Courtney. No, I'm kidding.
Oh.
A young Jai Courtney. Yeah. No, it was. Well, there was a Superboy TV show, right? Which aired from, just sniggering at the very concept of Superboy, which aired from 1988 to 1992, finished the year before Lois and Clark. So, this is very good. But in the first season of Superboy, you had this guy, John Newton, who played Clark Kent / Superboy. Yeah. Then there was a recast. From the second season and beyond, he was played by this guy, Gerard Christopher. And at the time... Gerard Christopher. And at the time, this was quite a big deal. It even made the news, as we can see here.
The popular syndicated TV show Superboy is based on the superhero's life as a young adult, going to college and learning to be a newspaper reporter. 23-year-old John Newton played the dual roles of Superboy and Clark Kent during the entire first year of production. But apparently, going into the second year of production of Superboy, producers had trouble reaching a contract agreement with John Newton, and so they went searching for a new Superboy. Well, meet the new Superboy, 29-year-old Gerard Christopher. He looks a lot like the old Superboy, doesn't he?
I can't tell you how excited I was when this happened. It was just one of those things that if you have to imagine what kind of a part you would want to kind of happen to you, this is it.
I mean, so many questions there. First
Never
of all,
heard of it.
That was clearly a big deal. No one even knows what Superboy is. Also, from the clips, why does it look so shoddy when Lois and Clark, a year later, I mean, okay, now you look back at Lois and Clark and you think, the effects aren't great, but compared to that, it was, a big blockbuster.
What happened to both John Newton and Gerard Christopher?
Let's have a look at the IMDb pages. John Newton, as he was referred to. I think Superboy might have been the peak of both their careers, I'm not going to lie.
Do they even have Wikipedia pages?
Yeah, they do. John Newton was in Melrose Place, a couple of episodes of Desperate Housewives, playing a character called John Lithgow, weirdly.
Okay.
And he's just kind of a bit of a jobbing actor.
All right.
Nothing particularly standout there. Gerard Christopher, his main role of note was he was in 23 episodes of Sunset Beach, for some reason uncredited for all 23.
Was he like a secret character? Like the cigarette smoking man?
Perhaps. He played Dr. Carl Brock, 23 episodes from 1997 to 99, uncredited for all of them, but...
He didn't want to get paid for it.
Perhaps. But the most interesting thing about Gerard Christopher, which is why I brought up Superboy in the first place, was he, a few months after Superboy wrapped, he auditioned to play Clark Kent, Superman, in Lois and Clark. Somehow, no one, clearly like us, no one knew he'd played Superboy.
So what network was Superboy on?
It was in syndication, so no particular network. Different networks would pick it up across America.
Right. So that's why it probably might not be his.
So somehow, no one knew he'd played Clark Kent before. The casting director was, quite rightly, like, you'd be a great Superboy, or Superman, rather. And then the producer sort of, let's have a look at your resume here. Superboy, get out! And they literally kicked him out because he was like, yes, I've got the role again. I'm the best Superman ever. I got it twice.
if they had cast him, could they have just made it canon with Superboy?
Well, that's the one thing they didn't want to do.
Right.
Because you could have made it a sequel.
Yeah.
But they didn't want to cast him, even though he would have been good in the role. Clearly, he was good in the role.
Yeah.
But they didn't want to make it a sequel. They wanted it to be a fresh start.
Paul Gerard.
Dean Cain was actually the second choice. But I think something that's not really talked about a lot with Dean Cain, which I think is important to flag, is that his real name is Dean George Tanaka. Right. And he's partly of Japanese descent. Yeah. And that's pretty much the only time that someone who's not obviously, a white guy is cast as Superman. Yeah. Dean Cain's clearly of sort of mixed ethnicity, and I think that's really important and groundbreaking. It hasn't
totally works, isn't that a problem?
And it's not even groundbreaking, it's just a one-off. Yeah. It's never happened since. Yeah. So I think that's important to flag out.
Oh, one more thing. If you ever need to find me, all you have to do is look up.
And also you had this guy, Lane Smith, who is, I think it's fair to say, the best Perry White ever on screen. He's incredible. Oh, she's a Clark guy, and he's an investigator, Lex Luthor. He's great, and he's got like, for some reason they decided in this show to make him an Elvis obsessive. So they swapped Perry's catchphrase in the comics, which is "Great Caesar's ghost," to "Great shades of Elvis." That would always be his exclamation whenever something crazy happened.
How about we fly?
Look, you think you can rustle us up some coffee? Black, with sugar.
Cream, 4 sugars.
Hold on a second. Why should I get the coffee?
I got it last time.
No, and you're already up. Oh boy, women.
Reinvented Jimmy Olsen. He was like more, again, a bit more capable, more modern.
There was more than one, right?
Yeah, there's 2. Yeah. So the first season he's played by Michael Landis, who I love. Yeah. I'm a big Landis fanboy. I love Landis all the way. Yeah.
You're amazing. Where'd you learn to do that?
Reform school. It was a bum rap.
But then after the first season he got dropped. The official line was that he looked too much like Dean Cain, and people were getting confused.
Were they though?
I don't know. Maybe some behind the scenes.
Dean Cain has glasses.
Michael Landis doesn't have glasses. Maybe there was some kind of behind the scenes turmoil that I didn't know about. Michael Landis, he does all right actually. I see him pop up from time to time. Yes, this is my thing. Michael Landis was the lead in Final Destination 2.
Was he?
Do you remember that? And he'd suddenly gone from like geek to buff. He'd gone all buff in the interim.
But Final Destination must have been a good 10 years after. Was it?
Final Destination 2003.
It's
like so literally 10 years after Lois and Clark.
But wasn't it all about teens?
Yeah, but he was like the buff lead guy who led the teens around. And face down Tony Todd. Yeah. Now, Final Destination 2 have you seen Final Destination 2?
I must have done.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's a great bit where someone gets sliced into pieces by barbed wire. Absolutely brilliant. And it's got my boy Landis in it.
You laugh less when they're doing an explosion and you want to concentrate and try to take that part seriously. But it is fun when you're walking through a hospital set with burnt dummies on the floor.
Yeah,
and you can't take it so seriously.
Yeah.
Why I liked Michael Landis, I'm talking about him for a bit too long. Why I liked Michael Landis was he was geeky, but kind of just like a regular guy, and he was quite capable. When season 2 they brought in this guy Justin Whalen, who Before You Ask was later in the Dungeons and Dragons movie with one of the Wayans brothers, I think.
Want to watch that?
He was too cool. He had like floppy hair and he looked like he was in a boy band. It's like, that's not Jimmy Olsen.
Maybe they did that on purpose.
I think they did. I think they wanted, young girls to watch it and put him up on there. And it probably worked. In a purely cynical way, it worked. But I preferred the first Jimmy Olsen, as I may or may not have made clear.
Instead of always standing around watching Lois and Clark, wondering what they're doing, what if we got lives of our own that were a little more interesting?
Now, son, you just hit the bullseye. It's like we're supporting characters in some TV show that's only about them.
Yeah, it's like all we do is advance their plots.
I'll tell you the truth, I'm sick of it.
Man, me too.
But also, what I liked about Jimmy's relationship with Clark in Lois and Clark is that he is his mate. But, like, Jimmy Olsen's kind of a pointless character in a lot of Superman adaptations. Doesn't really do anything. In Superman Returns, for example, you see him and Clark go for a beer. Yeah. It's like, yes, that's what he's meant to be his mate. Yeah. Superman doesn't really have any mates. He's got, like, a boss, a girlfriend.
So Superman's mate or Clark's mate?
Well, they always called him Superman's mate because he actually had his own spin-off comic called Superman's Pal Jimmy Olsen, in which every week he would get like crazy superpowers and crazy stuff that happened to him.
Jimmy would hang out with Superman rather than Clark Kent.
Well, he was sort of both their mates, not knowing that his mate was two guys. Yeah,
weird.
But I like the idea that like Jimmy is actually his mate.
Would he not have noticed? He's got the same face.
But this is an issue with the whole Superman mythos. What are you talking about? Like, why didn't Jimmy notice? Why didn't Lois notice? She's a crack reporter.
Lois is, she's an idiot.
Yeah, we established this. And you've got in my opinion, and this is probably the most controversial statement of this whole podcast, the greatest screen Lex Luthor of all time in John Shea, who only a regular in the first season, and then he's sort of relegated to guest appearances after that, apparently he lived in New York and he would commute to LA to film.
But he was too good to recast.
Well, he was brilliant.
An astonishing debut, Superman. Well, haven't you heard? That's what they're calling you. It's international news. So, to what do I owe this honor?
I came to tell you that I know who you are. Who you really are. I suppose on its face it was a good plan. Destroy Prometheus so that you could put your own space station in its place. Then not only would you make billions from the patents of the vaccines developed, but you would also be the supposed savior of the space program.
Well, it's an interesting theory, Superman, but I'm afraid that's all it is.
You are also responsible for the deaths of at least 3 people. Commander Latterman, Samuel Platt, Dr. Baines. Those probably aren't the only skeletons in your closet.
So you become both my judge and executioner?
Like any other citizen of the planet, I must obey the law. I am not above it. You, it seems, believe you are.
I hold a certain position in the city.
Yes. And there is nothing that would please me more than to see you dethroned and behind bars like any common criminal. That day will come.
Well, I trust not. But, as they say, let the games begin.
Well, because people go on a lot about Gene Hackman in the Christopher Reeve movies, and I love those movies, but he's doing that thing where people go comic book and they hear comic and then stop listening, so they just play it for laughs and they're just camping it up. And people go on about Gene Hackman. And Gene Hackman's obviously a great actor, but for me, not really the Lex of the comics, where he's this awesome, ruthless, sort of sinister guy.
Now, this is California, the richest, most populous state in the Union.
I don't need a geography lesson from you, Luthor.
Oh, yes, of course, you've been there. I do forget you. Get around, don't you?
I think the only person who has captured that is John Shea, and also, funnily enough, even though I'm not a big fan of the show, Michael Rosenbaum in Smallville, actually pretty good.
It's the second best.
He's the second best Luthor. You got that scene, every scene in the 4th season, because at first, him and Clark in Smallville, they start off as mates, and then eventually he figures out that Lex is a bit of a wrong-un. And every episode would start with something bad happens in Smallville, Lex is secretly behind it, and then it would cut to Lex staring into the fire in his mansion, always basically stroking his non-existent beard. Tom Welling, the walking plank of wood, would storm in, and he would be like, he'd always go, Lex, I know you're behind this, and he'd be like, you're overreacting, Clark. And that would be his line every single episode. You're overreacting. I had nothing to do with this, Clark. The monster storming the city has nothing to do with me. It always was. But he was great.
Whatever you're planning, I'm going to stop you. No, you aren't. You're going to join me. What? Think about it, Clark. My intellect, your powers. Together we could rule this world. We'll walk as gods among men.
But John Shea is absolutely the best. And at the end of the first season, right, Lex gets arrested, but he jumps to his death. He later gets resurrected or brought back as a clone or something. But anyway, the person arresting him is played by the actor Richard Belzer. Now, do you know who that is?
No.
He plays Detective Munch.
Really?
Detective Munch, who is this character, he's the longest running TV character of all time.
Loads of stuff.
It's weird, he started off as a cop, just a detective on the show Homicide: Life on the Street. He's since appeared on The Wire, The X-Files, he's even mentioned in...
Simpsons?
He's in The Simpsons, he's in Arrested Development, he's even mentioned in Luther, the British show with Idris Elba.
So we're saying that the same universe holds The Simpsons, Luther, X-Files,
Arrested Development.
It's all the same universe.
This is the Munch hypothesis. Yes, very much so. But I was watching a clip of Lex getting arrested, and I saw him to Richard Belzer, and I was like, oh, amazing! Lois and Clark's in there too. Yeah. I looked it up on IMDb, he's playing a different cop.
Oh.
He's playing Inspector Henderson. So unless you come up with some convoluted theory that he's working under an alias, it's not Munch. Damn. It doesn't count.
What's the meaning of this?
The meaning of this is, Luthor, you're through. We have all the evidence against you we need.
Evidence? Evidence for what?
This is a warrant for your arrest for arson and other crimes too numerous to mention.
You're out of your minds, both of you.
You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be supplied.
Will you shut up? I can afford 1,000 attorneys. I'll have your badge. I'll have your head for this. Give me the governor on the phone. Give me the president! Get him on the phone!
out!
But I think we'll go into the Munch hypothesis, and also the Tommy Westphal universe.
Yes.
We'll go into that at some point later on. If you don't know what that is, look it up on Wikipedia and research it. It's fascinating.
Wasn't that in the same one, though? Wasn't Munch involved in that?
I don't think so.
Oh,
no,
I hope it is.
If there was Munch and Tommy Westphal, because then it would mean Munch was the product of an autistic boy's imagination, which means the X-Files is... okay, we'll get into it in a future episode.
You can't forget Teri Hatcher as well. She was great.
Teri Hatcher, absolutely brilliant. It's like, again, brought a kind of modern, sexy, cool edge to Lois. But what was it you were telling me, ruining my childhood memories, basically?
Well, we'll have to look into this, but I'm pretty sure I read at some point that throughout the run, Dean Cain and Teri Hatcher hated each other.
Right.
Which may be why their chemistry was so great, because secretly they
hate
each other.
They hate each other and fancied each other. It's a bit like on Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is like held up as one of the greatest Bond films now, and because of the great romance between Bond and Teresa de Vincenzo. And apparently Lazenby and Diana Rigg hated each other and would eat onions before each scene so their breaths stank before they had to kiss and all that kind of thing. Those are the rumours. I don't know how true they are.
And Tony Curtis was mean to Marilyn Monroe, apparently. Something like it.
It was mean to Marilyn the whole time.
This feed might have been made up in my brain, but I'm sure I read it somewhere. Hopefully we're wrong and they loved each other and it was all totally fine.
Well, all I can find on the ever-reliable internet is evidence that rumours that they may have had a fling.
Right.
At the beginning of the show's run. So perhaps they had a fling and then had a rivalry and a feud. But
Maybe.
This is salacious gossip, sort of which I don't want two geeks to be tainted with.
Okay. What a bit TMZ there.
Yeah, we did go a bit gossipy showbiz.
You don't need X-ray vision to see why Lois finally realized Clark is her man.
Who wouldn't think that? I mean, it did take me 2 years, but seriously, how dumb was I? I mean, who wouldn't go for this?
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, give me my money.
Okay.
Give me my money.
So, season 1 of Lois and Clark was sort of a kind of moderate hit, but then it went through a bit of a reboot for season 2. They ditched the woman who created the show. They ditched her entire writing staff and brought in a new writer called Robert Singer, and then new writers, and just they recast Jimmy Olsen. There was a character, Cat Grant. She fancied Clark. They cut her entirely. Just gave it, and obviously Lex Luthor was gone too, and just gave it a bit of a revamp for season 2.
Did it help?
Yeah, it boosted. It worked. It boosted. As much as I think the first season's the best. But it boosted the ratings. They also, the first season was more, I see this first Superman show, more grounded. So it was more. Superman would fight villains with technology and that kind of thing, whereas they brought in like more supervillains with superpowers, and all that kind of thing, and it worked, and it became a bigger hit in the ratings. Unfortunately, it kind of lost its way a little bit,
inevitably,
as it went on.
Yeah.
Towards the end, basically, as I say, they get married in the 4th season, married by a guardian angel, not in the sort of figurative sense, in the literal sense. A guardian angel played by Bosley from Charlie's Angels. So that happens.
Lois and Clark, I now pronounce you husband and wife.
Then, once they get married, they don't really know what to do.
Was it like the moonlighting effect, where as soon as they got together, it was like...
Well, it's the classic moonlighting effect. We were talking the other day, why is Bones still on the television?
Yeah. Why is
Bones still on? Castle.
Yeah.
Why are they on anymore?
Yeah.
Like, no one cares.
Yeah.
And, I love Nathan Fillion, but seriously, can it Castle?
And obviously the Castle-Beckett relationship is central. And people always talk about, the moonlighting curse. I mean, do you think that applies here, or...?
That was always my fear, and shame on me, because I always think, if you give the audience what they've been wanting, you finally give it to them. What is left to want? I mean, that's pretty much the end right there. But we're treating it like, and I'm hoping this is very clever. I'm thinking it's very clever. That this is not the end. This is actually the beginning. So what we've actually been witnessing is a long and protracted beginning, where we've been waiting for this to finally happen. All right, finally now we can get started. Here is now the beginning.
And so it was with Lois and Clark was a perfect example of where they got them together. Everyone watched for the chemistry, and then it just kind of fizzled out. And so they ended up they brought in like time travel, so where they travel through time. H.G. Wells turns up in it.
What?
It just gets more and more and more ludicrous. And kind of the next crisis for them was that they found that they weren't able to have children. Right. I guess because of Superman's alien physiology, not because he would have, I don't know, super shagged her to death or anything. I don't know if that's what it was. So they found that they couldn't have a kid. And then in the 4th season finale, they find a mysterious baby in their apartment with a letter saying, "This belongs to you."
What?
And then it was cancelled.
What?
Yeah.
Well, where was the baby from?
Well, it's ambiguous, Tom. You ever found out? No, I'm just kidding. You got an explanation. So,
prisoner or whatever.
the Brad Buckner, who was one of the writers, executive producers, he later revealed that Kryptonian royalty had hidden the baby. It was like the royal baby, basically. It was like the Prince George of Krypton.
Right.
And they left it with Clark to protect it from assassins who were after it.
So the next series would have been that they would have raised this.
It would have been.
It'd been Superboy.
It would have been Superman and a baby. Yeah, which would have been interesting. But the cruelest thing of all for fans of Lois and Clark, such as myself, was that ABC ordered a 5th season halfway through the 4th season, and then when it ended, they went, actually no. Which I don't think you should be allowed to get away with that.
If you'd signed a deal, come on.
They literally renewed it and then went back on their decision. So ABC were then owed by Warner Brothers an episode order of something, because they're like, well, you've commissioned us to make something. But rather than make a 5th season...
Just make a 5th season?
Well, no, rather than make a 5th season, they decided to make 13 episodes of a drama called Prey, starring a pre-Will and Grace Deborah Messing. Also starring James Morrison. I think it's
not the singer.
No, James Morrison, who was in 24. Bill Buchanan from 24. Frankie Faison, who I think is in... Yeah, he's Burrell in The Wire. Do you remember that? And Vincent Ventresca, who was Fun Bobby in Friends. I've never even looked into this show. At first I was like, God, cancelling Lois and Clark now. Actually, I'm quite interested in Prey.
40,000 years ago, the most advanced species on Earth was wiped out by a powerful new life form. Us. Now, another new species has evolved. Stronger, smarter, and dedicated to our annihilation. Leading the fight against them is Dr. Sloan Parker, the bioanthropologist who uncovered their existence. Once again, it's survival of the fittest. And this time, we are the prey.
In a world where Smallville can last for 10 seasons, I mean...
only 4... This and the OC should have had more seasons than this.
Yeah. And in a world where One Tree Hill can have 9 seasons, the OC should have gone on a lot longer.
Yeah.
And in a world where Smallville can have 10 seasons and Supernatural can have 11, and as we say, Bones and Castle can run and on and on and on, it's a travesty, I'm saying. A travesty.
Yeah, shambles.
Lois and Clark, which was at one point the biggest show in the world, could end after 4 seasons.
Stupid.
We was robbed. Yeah. So I've just got here a little clip, which is from a 2006 documentary, which was made, I think it was around about the time that Superman Returns came out, and it was a brilliant documentary called Look Up in the Sky, The Amazing Story of Superman, and it goes from when he was created to 2006, it covers all the stuff that happened in the comics, all the different screen adaptations, animation, film, TV, it's absolutely brilliant, so if you haven't ever seen that, I recommend checking it out. But there's just a little clip here, which is addressing how Lois and Clark affected the comics, and also with the wedding, and also Dean Cain's hopes for the 5th season that never happened.
The wedding issue sparked a bump in sales, but many Superman fans just couldn't accept the idea of their hero being domesticated by marriage.
We still have a good debate going on that in the office. There's a lot of people on the creative staff who would like to find a way to have him wake up one morning and that just be a dream.
TV's Lois and Clark also married off its title characters, but shortly after the ceremony, ratings began to fall, and the series was canceled at the end of its 4th season.
I wanted us to push it to the next level and let them have children and just get crazy and explore new territory and see what those children would be. It opens up this whole new realm of Superman lore, and we didn't really get to do that.
Quite sad.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah. But, they talk about Superman Returns and how Bryan Singer talked about how it was basically a sequel to the old Superman Christopher Reeve movies.
Right.
And
was it?
Yeah, it's a direct sequel, more or less.
Even though Brandon Routh is like a lot younger than...
Yeah, but it picks up after Superman 2 and ignores Superman 3 and 4. So like we were talking about with the Alien movies, how they kind of ignore 3 and 4. It's always 3 and 4, isn't it?
Yeah.
It should always stop after 2. But Superman Returns, in that, Clark, of course, has a baby with Lois. Oh. Much like they were going to do in Lois and Clark. So maybe it's more influential than people give it credit for. And I would love, if anyone listens to this episode and is like me, a fan of Lois and Clark and feels like it doesn't get the credit it deserves, please, on Facebook or Twitter or something, just reach out and let me know. But it's because I feel like it really gets a lot of unfair flack, and I loved it as a kid, and I have really fond memories of it.
What if they could ever do some kind of just one-off sort of comeback return, one-off episode of where they are now, but ignoring all the other Superman stuff going on like that? If they were allowed to do just one episode of what they would like. Well, how many years has it been since it was on? What, like 15 years?
Yeah, about 15.
So what is like after that?
Well, more than 15. It's been more than 20 years since it's been off the air.
So Superman's aged, as has Lois and everyone else. What's going on now? That'd be great.
Superman's put on a bit of weight. You've seen Dean Cain recently.
That'd be great. I'd watch that.
Why not? Well, when they're bringing back everything from Twin Peaks to X-Files.
Big Finish should do an audio version of it.
we can't let an episode go by without doing a little plug for Big Finish for some reason.
Get Dean, he'd love
We're not
it.
getting paid. Get Dean Cain in. Why not? Well, but they are, it's quite nice. None of them are ashamed of their Superman past.
Should they?
Lois and Clark? Lois Lane, Teri Hatcher. Yeah. God, I've had a beer. Teri Hatcher was in an episode of Smallville playing Lois Lane's mum.
There you go.
And Dean Cain, of course, he's going to be playing Supergirl's foster father in the upcoming new Supergirl TV show. So, he's still, clearly everyone's still up for it. Yeah. So, do Lois and Clark revival, even if it is on audio. Do it, please. That'd be great. Right, well, that's me kind of exhausted, having aggressively defended Lois and Clark. I feel like I've done my job now.
You can go back upstairs and find your Michael Landis poster.
My Michael Landis posters, up on my bedroom wall. Yeah. I love Landis, what can I say? I might watch Final Destination 2 tonight, and you should join me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to my rant. Next time, we're doing something a little bit different on Two Geeks. Doing sort of a two-parter. Mm-hmm. So episode 11, Doctor Who was our biggest episode by far, I think I'm right in saying, apart from possibly Terrorhawks. So thank you for listening to that. But so we're going to do a sort of a two-part sequel to that. We're going to be in episode 11 looking at all the TV shows that tried to be Doctor Who in the years when it wasn't on the air, between 1989 and 2005, if you ignore the propaganda TV movie, which we will be. So we're going to be looking at all those different shows that tried to be Doctor Who and tried to fill that gap. Shows such as Crime Traveller with Michael French, Strange with Richard Coyle, which I remember and Tom doesn't, so that'll be fun. And then the episode after that will also be kind of on a little tangent from that. It will be exploring all the shows that were inspired by Doctor Who after it came back in 2005. Basically trying to cash in. All those shows that tried to replicate its success once it was a huge hit. Primeval, most of them by the BBC, but there was Primeval on ITV, Robin Hood, and so on. So we'll be looking at those. So please do join us for our Doctor Who themed double bill. Mm-hmm. See you next time.
Have a beer on us.
That would be on us. We can't afford it. Not getting paid.